Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Forward Thinking Podcast. It's Chrissy and Charlie here from CS2. And today we have another episode of our special series called MOPS in 10, where we cover one of our most popular podcast topics and give you some actionable takeaways in just 10 minutes, because we know that you're super busy, so you can get in and out and on your way and put them into action at your organization. Today, we're covering a super important topic. We're going to be talking about 5 questions to ask when developing your analytics framework. And if anyone is an avid listener, you probably remember one of our last podcasts where we talk about ways to elevate your role in the marketing operations department and just in that role in general. And part of that is taking on analytics and creating a framework for the org. So today we're going to be talking about, once you've decided to do that, what are the questions that you need to ask your key stakeholders in order to create an analytics framework that works and works for them.
Yep.
So Charlie's going to take us through, I think, those questions today. So we don't have much time, so let's just get to it. What's the first question, Charlie?
So you want to start at the highest level. So that would be really trying to understand what the company goals are. So the question would be, what are the measurable goals that the company has? So that would often be something like revenue goals, revenue growth goals, things like that. And specifically, you can drill that down a little bit further to then what are the goals for marketing?
Mm-hmm.
So, the business might have, a net new business goal, something like that. And then marketing might have, some kind of relationship to that. So
Yeah.
a percentage of that, or, have to impact all of that. It can vary dramatically across different orgs. But the first question is, what is the business objective? Sometimes you might find the company doesn't really have like that tie between, marketing to the business objectives. That's a problem, right? You need to create that. So I'm assuming that there is, a company goal that has been then filtered down into a marketing goal that is measurable. And that is where you want to start. Find out what that is.
Yes. Can you give an example of a few of those like metrics as far as like revenue? Is that usually like net new business, pipeline? Is it pipeline and revenue?
All of the above. So it could be marketing generated pipeline, which could be pipeline generated by a specific marketing source, pipeline that has been influenced by marketing through some kind of attribution model. It could be pipeline that's been generated through your website. It could be pipeline generated through events. And then also a revenue goal. So again, kind of the same thing. Like, where does that revenue come from? Has it come from marketing? One of the things that we don't particularly like, that happens quite a lot, it's a bit nuanced, is having like a percentage for each team. Like SDR should do this, or sorry, sales should do this, marketing should do this percent, and customer success do this percent. You don't want that like conflict between teams, and it should be like a team effort between all the teams. But there is that ultimate goal to generate revenue, generate pipeline, and marketing should be contributing to that. So that is like one of the main metrics. That is, sometimes you could consider revenue more of a lagging indicator. So you might have more leading indicators, like the dreaded MQL that everyone hates, or number of demo requests, number of product signups, that kind of stuff. That's still related because that will generate into pipeline and revenue. But there should be a decent, well built out methodology for like what marketing is measured on, and the major goals and KPIs.
Great. Yeah. Good examples. Okay. So second question, what else should we ask beyond that once we have our goals?
So once you have your goals, or like once you understood your goals, obviously they should be there. That your CMO and your leadership team should have defined these goals already. So after that, you want to understand like what audiences do you want to create this framework for. So there's going to be executive level, CMO. There's going to be different teams. So there might be the demand gen team, the field marketing team, the customer marketing team, SDR. Each of these teams are going to have very specific needs.
Yeah.
So you want to go around the org and find out which audiences you're going to be building this framework for.
Yeah. And that can sometimes be a lot of work, creating dashboards for each individual team. Like, where would you say someone should prioritize their time? Or should it be based on like if someone's maybe requested it in the past? Or
I'm gonna say the answer that everyone hates, but it depends, right? Often though, what I see happening that does work well, I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, but is you kind of start from the top. So like that, get that CMO dashboard built. That's going to be focusing on the primary metrics for the marketing team in the business, like marketing generated pipeline, marketing generated revenue, attribution, things like that. Then you can move from that level down into like more specialist or niche or specific levels, which are going to be more focused on teams. And then once you have the different dashboards for different teams, you can actually go even at another level below that, which is like a multiple dashboards for an individual team. Like the demand gen team might want a paid dashboard. They might want an organic dashboard. They might want, an events dashboard. No, they might want different dashboards based on the channel to really help them optimize each of those channels. So I think, but the question that we're trying to, advocate for here is the question of who are the audiences, right? Who are the audiences I'm going to build this for, and what is that framework ultimately going to be like consumed by?
Yeah. All right. Third question. What else should we ask? So we know who our audiences are. We know what goals we have for the business. What's the third thing?
So then that's going to be, what are the, actually asking those people, the people within the individual audiences, what questions are they trying to answer? What are their biggest business problems? Like really start to understand their workflow and the type of channels they're investing in, the issues they're having, the ways they make decisions, really trying to understand like how they're going to use data to be better at their job.
Yeah, definitely. One thing, when it comes to the dashboards for the different teams, and I think when you start at a top level, I think usually once you get to this part of asking the key questions to the teams, like what are you wanting to look at and measure, you'll often find like similarities. So then and even down to like a lot of the reports that you already have created on the executive dashboard, they maybe just need to be filtered by a certain source, or looking at, certain, only certain types of campaigns. So definitely your suggestion of starting, I think, with the CMO dashboard is great, because a lot of those reports can just be cloned and reiterated to match that other audience's needs.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like the audience at this level, they're going to want to see things like revenue and pipeline, like more of that lagging indicator of success, where you might have a sales cycle that's a year, right? So they might do something in January and they're not going to see the results of it until December. Now, that is quite a long time for them to figure out what's working and not working, right? Yeah. They're going to need to be able to react quicker. So they're going to want a lot more of those leading indicators, where maybe it is, sales ready, or like the conversion rate between the leads they're sending to actual, sales working, or sales, developing or opportunity. So giving them that kind of data, that there's going to be a bit more quicker, for them to interpret what's working and make decisions when they're like trying to evaluate a campaign they've just launched, right? So, but these are the kind of questions that you want to ask, right? Like there's a million ways to do this. We can't tell you in a 10-minute podcast exactly how to do it, but we're telling you the question you need to be questioning, ask them, like, what are the type of metrics and what is the data that you want to see to be able to make and optimize everything you're doing.
Definitely. Okay. So after that, what's our fourth question?
So it's more about the cadence of reviewing the reports. So there's going to be reports that they look at daily, quarterly, and everything, in between and above. So we all often talk about like 3 dashboards, like a planning dashboard, a goal tracking dashboard, and optimization dashboard. The optimization dashboard is everything they're going to be looking at to optimize everything daily. They're going to be looking at that every single day. The goal tracking dashboard, likewise, they're going to be looking at that very often, because it's maybe tracking their goals within the quarter. Yeah. Whereas the planning dashboards, that's maybe something they're going to use like every year or every 6 months to plan the next 6 months. So understand like the cadence of what they want to review, because each dashboard should be very much built with that in mind, because there's different insight you can get from data, like based on the cadence that you're looking at it.
Yeah. So similar to how often they look at the reports, I think the last question drills down into kind of like the key ways they want to slice their data. So So what is the last question you would ask?
Basically, what are all the different ways you want to slice the data? Exactly what you said. So like things like segmentation, what fields they want to look at. So that could be something like channels, the industry, company size, business unit, whatever your company cares about. This is something you probably could have figured out from the third question too, but
Yeah.
really it's understanding how the business is like slicing things to really understand how things are working and how to optimize those different divisions of everything the company's doing. So it will vary, but it could be like some of the stuff that we mentioned, or even different products, target accounts versus non-target accounts, business segment, all of those things. Like every territories, like different countries, regions. There's a million ways to look at that too, but every business is going to have the things that they prioritize.
Totally.
Right? So understanding that, because you're going to want on those dashboards to maybe see filters to be able to drill into that, or even on the actual reports themselves, like the difference between stack bar charts, pie charts, that kind of thing, to be able to see the differences between these different segments. So once you have like those 5 questions like very well answered and documented, and you've had all those discussions, you can really start building the dashboards that the company needs.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Hopefully that was useful for you all. Thank you for listening to today's MOPS in 10, and we hope you put it into action in your org. And if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues, and we'll see you next time.